in the pasture today. I've got some good news. The irrigation water came in this morning, and boy, we got some problems with getting the water to go where I want it to go, and we're going to need some dirt. I got some low points, and after all that grading I did and work on the fence, it's actually worse now than it was before. So I've got this dirt on the eastern pasture that I've been saving that I mucked out. It's a really rich topsoil that I mucked out of the the irrigation ditch, and we're going to be taking that over there and feathering that in and see if we can re-divert that. So you don't need much, you know. It's just, this is really kind of an interesting game to play. What we're trying to do is to make irrigation water flow evenly and consistently across a big acreage, which is challenging. So I'm just now starting to figure out what we're doing. So I got about an hour. I'll bring you with me today. You can kind of hang out. We'll see what's going on. We'll jump in the quad. We'll go down there and check the head gates. But boy, this is when time gets busy. So if you have any super chats or any questions or comments, I'll be keeping an eye on you. And well, hang out. Come hang out with me for a bit. Boy, what a beautiful day, huh? Got some nice topsoil here. Thank you, Wezak. Appreciate that. It sure is a pretty time of year. Do a wheelie? I can't. I can do a wheelie. I push myself up, but it's not very interesting. Boy, we've had 3 fires, wildland fires in the last week. Almost lost our power the other day. It's shaping up to be a bad wildland season, gentlemen. We may be busy around here. I started running equipment. Let's see, what's the first piece of equipment that I ran? It was probably when I was my dad's stuff. My dad was a general contractor, and he always had a dozer and a backhoe and a little dump truck, usually a 6-yard truck. And I learned to run those. From the time I was really little. I don't remember. You know, it was one of those type of things where you've kind of always known how to do something. What I'm best at is excavator, rubber tire backhoe, front end loader, like big loaders, dozers. Pretty good with dozers. Those are my main ones. Skid steer, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, my ability with like someone that's really good, I'd say I'm probably about a 3 or a 4. Only time I've ever had in a skid steer is my own, and most of that's been plowing snow. Let me get you a better angle here. Sorry, gentlemen. This seems to be all wonky there. It seems to be blurry, doesn't it? Oh no, what have we done here? We got, boy, you get the good grip set up, and then why is that blurry? Isn't that something? Does that look blurry to you? That looks blurry to me. See, I'm not blurry. But that is blurry. It is blurry. I'm using my iPhone. Goodness. That's just unacceptable there. Hold on one second, gentlemen. That is not focusing. Why is that? Maybe now? Did I break another phone? All the vibration? All right, stand by here. I'm working here. Better now. Yeah, I think so. No, I'm not shooting through glass. I took the glass out. It still doesn't look that great. Way better? Okay, well, we'll just kind of go with it here. We got to scoop up some dirt. The vibration, yeah. I use this phone on my dirt bike, even with the isolating mount, but you know, it plays the devil with it for sure. It'll work, okay. So this dirt has been sitting here for 2 years. Boy, it's nice topsoil too. Yeah, it does look blurry, doesn't it? You know, it's on YouTube's end because I switched over to my camera and it was clear. It snapped right into focus. Blurry again, huh? Yeah, I cleaned the lens. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. I'll tell you, gentlemen, one of the best things I ever did was to buy a dump trailer. I can't, you know, if you have to move stuff from, you know, along a pretty good distance, you know, half a mile or so, even a couple 100 yards, man, that's hard to do if you're just doing it, you know, one bucket at a time. And you can work so much cleaner. Like you can, you don't have to put dirt on the ground or rocks, or you can separate brush and shrubs and stuff. You know, take them different places. Yeah, it could be the movement of the machine. I'll try to operate as smooth as I can here. I've ran a lot of excavators. Oh man, we're all messed up here. I've ran a lot of excavators over the years, mostly link belts and Hitachis. Sorry, I'll get this mount set up here. Not very many cats, almost, you know, just a couple. Komatsus, even Volvos and such. But this is the best excavator I've ever ran as far as just being nicely balanced, good power, super compact. It's a really nice little machine. And the other thing that's nice about it is you can haul it around yourself. That's kind of a problem with those big machines. You have to pay someone to every time you want to move it, which, you know, is $1,000. With these little machines, with your dump trailer, you know, not only is it a handy little thing to have, but it also hauls your equipment around. Goodness, we have our horn back. We have a super chat. I gotta click on that there. Come on now, from Mr. Mason. Where's my horn at? Shout out to you, Mr. Mason. He says, needing to fall a tree with a 14-inch base, I borrowed my grandpa's chainsaw 3 times, so now it's time to get my own. Yeah, and that's the rule of thumb that we've established here at ProHo. Let me shut this off so I can. Is that if you're questioning whether, hold on, goodness, unlimited there. If you're questioning whether you should rent or buy, and you've been borrowing something from a friend, sorry, Dry, I'm just doing it for the live stream. Super chats get the horn honked. I'll have it a little bit. So here's the rule of thumb. If you have to borrow something 3 times, then you need to get your own. If you had to borrow, I guess the 3rd time would be, I would borrow something twice, most likely, maybe 3 times, but probably not. That's going to be kind of the rule of thumb. All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Mr. Mason. Let us proceed. Oh, I didn't answer his question. Goodness, what was I thinking here? Hold on a second. I got so much on my mind here. Oh, I didn't. I was thinking. You need to fall a tree within a 14-inch base. I borrowed my grandpa's chainsaw, so now it's time to get my own. I'll only be using it for firewood, limbing, and small trees. What do you recommend? What I would recommend, Mr. Mason, what I'd recommend is this. Probably the Farm Boss. The Husky or the Steel, both of those are really good saws, but about the best value for just a really good all-around saw is the Farm Boss or the Rancher. Go to your, now you can only buy, for Steels, you can only buy them from their authorized dealers, where Huskies you can buy them sometimes at farm and ranch stores. So if that's easier for you, get that. They're both good saws. You get a case, you get basic tools. Get yourself, when you buy it, make sure you buy yourself 2 extra chains and get half skip or full skip chains. Make sure you have everything you need for filing. The filing tool I'd recommend is that little all-in-one Stihl tool. That's a pretty good one, and go with that and you'll be good. But yeah, you don't need for that type of work, you don't need a pro saw. And like I've said before, I've used those little saws, the Stihl's version, the Rancher or whichever one it was, on a Wildland fire, and it was really good saw, and I used it really hard and in harsh environments. So yeah, good. Sorry about that. Shout out to you, brother. And I also missed our newest member, our super chat from No Starlink for the excavator. The madness. I could set that up. Thank you, Kyle. I sure appreciate that. I could set that up, but we have just basic, almost enough 4G out here, so we're gonna give it a go. All right, let us proceed. Stihl or I prefer Stihl, but I'll tell you, I could just as easily be a Husky guy. Those are great saws too. The pros like both of them, so you're fine with either one. Boy, what a beautiful day it is. Yep, I'd agree with Cooper. Both are okay. Echo. I don't know about Echo. I can't say. I can't really have an opinion on that. Another brand you can look at, that if you want to just be obstinate, a little bit different, is I believe it's Shin Daiwa, S-H-I-N, Shin Daiwa. Now they make a lot of really high-grade tools for professional landscapers. And when I was talking, I used to buy my equipment from a dealer, and I was asking their head mechanic those. This was years ago. I don't know if they still make them. And he was telling me for a small saw that you can't beat the Shin Daiwa. That it's a high quality, really good item that was made to last a long time. Now, parts availability, that sort of thing, you got to be careful, but you can look into it. Goodness. We have a super chat from Brandon Aga who writes, if you decide on running cattle, will they ruin the furrows you have for the flood irrigation? Man, that's a good point. I hadn't even considered that, but yeah, they absolutely would. We have an option. We have a small we will only be talking about like 1 or 2, not very many, just for our own use. We're going to have to move the trailer, gentlemen. Let me probably get another scoop here. Yeah, that's a very good point. We might have to put them in a separate area. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. But I do have an area, we do have a pasture to the west that is not irrigated. It's upstream of the ditch, or uphill a little bit. We could run them up there. It's not very big, but it would probably be enough for, you know, if we fed them, it'd be enough for 1 or 2, I would think. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother. Shout out to you. Let us proceed. Looks like we may have a rock right there. Get that angle right. Don't want any rocks. We have to grade all that out. We don't want to put rocks in the pasture. Fortunately, this doesn't have very many rocks in it. Make a splash here. Oh no. Stuck to me thumb. I think I saw another big one in there. Yeah, almost snuck in there. Goodness, we have a super chat. Now, how in the world am I going to pronounce that? From Votek. What's the best axe handle wood? Oh, that's a simple one. The best axe handle wood is American hickory, Tennessee hickory from the U.S. Even our snobbish German and Austrian friends agree with that. They don't always use it in Europe because it's hard to come by. It's kind of rare. They have to import it. But American hickory is the best. It's a very, very tough wood. If you ever work with it, it's very grainy, strainy. I don't know how I put it, sinewy. It's very fibrous, and it's hard as nails, and very heavy and dense. And the best thing about it is that it has a liveliness or a snap to it that actually assists. Come on now, put my code back in. Assists the user when it swings. And that's why when you swing a really good hickory handle on a tool, it helps your work. Where if you go to a hickory to like a plastic, like one of those, what's the name of those plastic axes that I'm always going on about? What are those things called? I can't remember. But they're really dead. Really dead. They don't have that feel. But hickory is definitely the best. And we have, thank you, brother. Sure appreciate that. Shout out to you. All right, let us proceed. Come on now. Took Mrs. W oh, there's that rock. Took Mrs. W on a moto ride yesterday. The first time since I think before she had Jack. Oh, I have good news as well. I was going to share with you guys. Hold on a second. Really good news. How did I forget that? Should have let off with that. I'm trying to concentrate on too many things here, not tear up my fence. Yeah, check this out. So we just heard this morning that our son Jack is going to nationals for speech and debate. He competes. He's been competing regionally and placed, I think, in the top 12 in the country, and is going to be going to nationals. So Mrs. W's got our trip planned and our tickets booked, and we're going to be going up for that. So very exciting. So shout out to Jack. Goodness. Mr. Overton, shout out to you. Overton writes, update on Grandpa after the funeral and family reunion. Okay, so Overton is giving us an update on his grandfather who recently passed. He was 103. Now we're talking about winning here. This is what winning looks like. 103 years old, 11 children, 32 grandchildren, 108 great-grandchildren, and 19 great-great-grandchildren, all of whom he has met, felt, like sharing that. Crushing. Yeah, there you have it right there. Who's crushing? That's what crushing is having your family. Being someone that's lived, I guess, both lives. It's the life of a hedonistic single person, everything that goes along with that, everything that the world has to offer. And then having the opposite of that, having a traditional family and my own children. They can't be compared, gentlemen. I would tell you, if I could find a better way, I would do it. But I don't know that there is a better way than being with your family. When I see, we've been talking a lot, last month, of these numbers of these statistics of single women, that in the next 10 years or so, they're forecasting it to be, what they say, half of women from the age of 24 to 45 will be single and childless. Half. That's half of our American women. Goodness, can you imagine? And 45, 45 may sound old when you're young, but 45 is not that old, especially if you live, what's the average age of a woman, up into their 80s? Can you imagine 45 all the way up until you die, to be childless and alone with no husband and no children, and not have that legacy that Overton just shared with us? Goodness, the thing kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? Thanks for sharing that, brother. Goodness, that is absolutely crushing. All right, let us proceed. Yeah, of course the family's under attack. Yeah, ultimately the adversary is behind all of this. Goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. the Nuclear Otter. Shout out to you. Where's my horn? I said, would you do a video on what to do for nuclear fallout procedures, along with how someone living in the city can start anew if they have to relocate? Yeah, I think those are great ideas. I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know anything more about nuclear fallout than you do. I'm questioning sometimes whether it's even real. To be honest with you, not to sound like a nut or anything, but what do they tell us? Oh, there's going to be a nuclear winter, and they tell us that the place will be uninhabitable for forever and ever, right? And all these things. And yet you can go right now to the place where where the U.S. tested multiple nuclear bombs, and they tell us allegedly that it spread this material all around, and it will kill you and destroy your thyroid if you go anywhere near it, and yet it's open to tourism. And what about the alleged bombs that we dropped on Japan? Were they conventional, or were they indeed an atomic bomb? And look how quickly they were able to re-inhabit. And where are the birth defects? They showed a few scary black and white pictures back in the day, but really, where are the birth defects? They're not existent in the population. It's like, is it just, what I'm starting to learn is that everything that they feed us is about keeping us afraid and keeping us scared, right? Keeping us scared so that we are not really watching what they're up to, I guess. I don't know what it is. So I wonder if the whole thing, if it's as bad as what they say. I don't know. Who knows? But, really, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Dealing with a situation like that is so far out of my control. And, the Lord has given us promises. The Lord told us that He knows what we have need of before we ask. He knows that what we will have need to survive and to protect us. He was able to protect His people in the past in the presence of incredible dangers. The Red Sea, and look how He delivered David and his men so many times, and Gideon, and so many different examples. Is He not the same yesterday, today, and forever? Does He not hold us in His very hand? Is He not ultimately responsible for our safety? So, maybe there are things we could probably do. Maybe if an atomic bomb did go off, what I understand, what I know would be, stay out of the fallout. So that would mean try to secure your house as much as possible. If you have a furnace, you would want to turn that off, or at least turn it on to recirculate, so you're not bringing fresh air from the outside. Same with your vehicles, if you had to use them. You'd want to have a case of masking tape on hand and some painter's plastic so that you could seal off windows and doors and that sort of thing. and basically you would just hunker down. I don't know. I'm starting to get, it's easy to get kind of worn out on how much, all this preparing and how much preparing a guy can do. I feel like I'm to the point now where it's like, well, I've kind of done what I can do. And maybe it's time to live a little bit and just, get up and enjoy life and not just constantly be concerned about these things. Regarding getting started in a place, I think that's a great idea, especially moving to a new place, how to get started. I will consider that. We'll see if we can do something like that. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, brother. Sure appreciate that. Let me back up here a little bit. That was greatly appreciated. We have a super chat from Chris Lasala. Have to turn on my key. Nothing but the best. Where's my horn? The best production here. So Chris writes, what's Chris write? Chris writes, we preach Christ on my channel and we cast out demons too. Anyone who does not repent of willful sins will go to hell. Homeschool your children, people. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Anything that you said, 100%. And the casting out of demons, I have not personally done that. I have not seen it. I've not seen a demon cast out of a person personally, but I have seen demon-possessed people. We had the most interesting one happened in the old church I was in, I grew up in a Christian cult church. There was one of my friends that I grew up with from the time I was an infant, and what was the details? I'm trying to remember the details. Now, demon possession can happen, I know of a couple of ways. I don't know everything about it, but you can, if you actively stay connected to God and you pray for his protection and you stay close to the Almighty, the demonic realm does not have access to you. But if you want it, you can seek it. You can seek it through mediums. You can seek it even through things like Ouija boards and things. You can invite it into your life. Whether you like it once it enters in is a whole nother question, but that's possible if you want it. If you have to give it permission. It's as if God has given the realm of the demonic, whatever that is, if it's a parallel realm with us or something that's around us that we can't see, I don't know. He's given it, evil's been given, can only go so far. It can't just run roughshod over God's children. Imagine the ocean, the barriers that the ocean has. It can lap up on the sea, but it can't come inland. There are laws that even the ocean has to follow. Now, in the event of great storms and stuff, yes, it can come inland and do great damage, but it can't stay there. So that's the way I kind of look at the demonic realm. I've also seen the demonic able to enter into a person through a great sickness, where they were maybe even unconscious, or a bad accident, which is strange as that may sound. And I've always kind of take issue with God about that. That'll be something, when I don't understand things like this, I don't blame God for being unjust. I just chalk it up to, I don't have an understanding of this yet. Someday when I'm more mature, if it's God's will, I will have the understanding of this. But I'm not going to disregard everything because I don't understand one thing, right? So, my friend had an accident, a car accident, a bad head injury, if I remember, something to that effect. I believe he was unconscious for some time, maybe even in a coma. Now, they didn't allow us to go to churches. So when you had an accident like that, like when I compound fractured my collarbone, I wasn't able to go to the hospital. It was all taken care of by the elders and such. It was barbaric. But they took care of him the best he could, but he ultimately was able to recover and come out of it. But something entered into him when he was in that state. And he was not the same. When he was getting better, one thing that was commonly done in the church is if someone was taken ill, that people would sign up and sit with them. We sit with them, and the women would take food and just to take the burden off the family. And the church also paid for their mortgage and their bills, any expenses that they had. So they didn't have to worry about losing their home and their livelihood. So that was one of the good things about the church. When he was getting better, we would go and take turns and sit with him in the night. He had a small end table by his bed with a lamp on it. And one of the guys noticed that he was reaching over there and he was picking at that. He was picking on something. And what he was doing, it gives me the shivers just thinking about it. What he was doing was he was picking nails out, the little brad nails, he was pulling them out with his fingers. Now they were all, this wasn't like an old rusty junky piece of furniture that was, the nails were coming loose that anyone could pull out. These were well secured, and underneath, you know, many years, it was an antique piece, many years of varnish. And yet, somehow supernaturally, with his fingernails, it was creepy. He'd pull these things out. You know, that kind of creeped people out. And there were some various other things, but he got back up on his feet, and I remember, I saw this with my own eyes. I remember when the boys, the single bachelors and the boys would kind of meet together outside and, you know, hang around and talk, you know, before the Sunday meeting. And we were out there in the summertime, and this guy was not a big guy at all, you know, just average medium height, medium build, was going up, and he would grab guys like by the crotch, and he would lift them up over his head with one hand. You know, guys that were like 200 pounds, and this guy maybe weighed maybe 160, 155, 160. You know, so I don't know. I don't know how to explain all of that or why, but I saw it, and I've been in the presence of it. You know, I've had to deal with it in my own life on like 4 different occasions, physically, where it entered, you know, and interacted with me, and I had to rebuke it through Christ. Terrifying. It goes beyond fear. It's so terrifying to be in the presence of this evil, or whatever it is, that you almost lose the will to live. It's so beyond terror. Terror doesn't even describe it. It is as if you think you have lost the will to even live. It is such dread and fear. It's incredible, incredible. Let me back up here. I missed some super chats. Goodness. Going back here. Hold on. But oh yeah, thank you, Chris. Sorry, man. Thank you, Chris. Well, I wish I should have grabbed another phone here. We have a super chat from Chief Tender Toes. Shout out to you. Where's my horn? I got all sorts of problems here. What did he write? He says, "What's your opinion of council tool axes? They're very good." Yeah, council tool axes are very good. We use them with the fire department. They're tools, solid handles, not super sexy, but good quality tools. Now, they have a premium line. I think it's called the Velvet Cut. If you want something that's hand finished and has a nice edge like a Swedish axe does, and a little bit more polish on it, you can pay for that. But you can do it yourself. It's the same axe you get as the regular utility axe that the fire department uses and such. They're very good. I would highly recommend them. I would say that would be the best, your very best that you could get for a USA made axe without something from a small, you know, maybe a small blacksmith or a small company. Thank you, brother. We have a super chat from Deacon Scalesinger, who writes, "I read The Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn. I believe you mentioned that book somewhere. Greatly recommend it. P.S. Did you receive my mail? Check the spam." I'll check. I haven't looked at emails for a while. I've been pretty busy this weekend, and I'm just getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, that's a book. That's a Proho recommended reading list book, is The Return of the Gods. Many of you read that. Actually, there's several of you that have finished it up this week. I've heard several messages back from that. But thank you, brother. Shout out to you. That's a good book. You got to go read that. Get that on Audible. And we have a super chat from Wojtek. Again, thank you. He says, "Loving this channel. You have the same energy as me." Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know what? There's many of us out here. It's tiresome, isn't it? Oh, we have a super chat. Looks like maybe it was hidden. I can't see that one. Okay, I'll skip that. Oh, sorry, gentlemen. I see several super chats, but it looks like they were timed out or hidden. So I can't do anything with it. Mr. Daniel, shout out to you. Thank you, brother. Daniel writes, "Do you know of a community where like-minded homesteaders and preppers can build their network of potential allies?" Boy, that's the hard question, isn't it? That's the biggest complaint that I hear from guys is yeah, I'm on board. I want to build a community. I want to build my own war band and have a few guys where we can support one another and our families, but I don't know anyone. Everybody that I bring this up to think I'm crazy. So, and they don't want to participate. They probably don't even want to talk to me anymore. So you don't want those people anyway. They're not going to be useful to you. I don't know, man. I guess I think the further you get out into the country, into the smaller towns, the more like-minded people you're going to find, and they're going to be friendlier. If you're trying to find that in a city, even though the percentage of people is much higher, people don't tend to talk to one another, and even less now. So people are still out in the country, are pretty friendly out in the country. You got to get out in the rural area and get involved with things. Get involved with, get involved with dirt bikes. Just anything you like to do. Just clubs, and you got to kind of put yourself out there. You can even organize something yourself. If you can build up a small following of some sort online, YouTube or TikTok or Facebook, whatever, of doing something that's interesting, something that's a hobby that you can share and kind of get a group. It's amazing how many times you'll find someone locally, and you can start putting on events. Hey, we're going to be doing, we're going to go out and be learning some particular skills, whatever you're good at. And I'm going to be teaching a little class. You can put those out there, and who knows? You're going to have to go out there and get it, make it happen. It's not going to fall in your lap. That's what my experience. When I bought my snow bike, I didn't really, I knew guys that snow bike, but I didn't want to go with them because I knew they were going to take me up. They were much more advanced. They were going to take me up to places and punish me, and I was going to have a bad experience. So I put an ad in Facebook Marketplace and started connecting with people that way. So that's what I would do. That's the way I find motor rides as well. Is there are guys that like a Pacific Northwest Dual Sport, they have a Facebook page and they post all their events. You show up to that event and spend 3 days with those guys, you're gonna leave with 3 or 4 friends. There's just really good people in those type of things, and find them in your area, and they probably live close. So you just have to make it happen. Goodness, we have a brand new member, Mr. Al Motor. No, a super chat. Thank you, brother. Mr. Al Motor B. Appreciate that. All right. Let me work, gentlemen. Let us proceed here. We got to move some dirt. Boy, I'm really becoming convinced that we're going to have we could have a big fire season. You never know, but I really expect arson to start becoming a big problem. I hope they don't start using that energy weapon that they start all those, whoever it is, start all those California fires with. Well, you want to go down a rabbit hole, look into that. Oh, yeah, no kidding. MGH, substations, yeah, you want to talk about a vulnerability. Not only substations, but fiber optics splice points, boxes. I mean, you just hit one of those with a car, goodness, that'd take out half the coast. Or what about natural gas substations? All this stuff, goodness, it's so vulnerable. Just those glass insulators. I mean, those glass insulators hold up those high tension power lines. There's no safety line inside those. You don't have to use your imagination if you're a bad guy to figure out how to overcome that. Can you imagine the consequences? I have a backup generator on my short list, gentlemen. Goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. Ben. Shout out to you, Ben. It's funny you say that arson. That's what it looks like here up in Alberta. Yeah, you know, that's what's going to happen, gentlemen. I'll tell you right now. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's it could, you know, it could be anyone. It could be. It wouldn't surprise me if it was the feds that did it. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a foreign actor, saboteur. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a local person just bored out of their mind. It could be done by people from the cities. Goodness, I mean, anyone. It's so simple to do. You know, they even announce when the worst day to start a fire would be. You know, when they go into red flag, that's when the temperature gets to be certain, when the fuel dryness gets to be a certain number, RH, relative humidity, etc., wind. You could predict fire. I mean, you just can't even hardly stop it. You could just throw a match and it would be over. We have a super chat from the Battle Chemist. I haven't heard this. So we have a report. So I've been telling you guys that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a dirt bike, a dual sported dirt bike, something street legal that's used and affordable. Come on, we'll lock this out here. Never. For various reasons. It's going to be cheap. It's going to run forever, low service, good gas mileage. It's going to be able to get anywhere. It's not going to be hung up with traffic and such. I've been doing some research on this myself. Mrs. W, we sold her little bike years ago when she was pregnant with Jack, and she hasn't ridden since. We took her out last night on one of the little kids' bikes, and we wanted to get her riding with us again in the evening. You know, we're not going to go do hardcore stuff, but we're going to at least get her so she's up to speed, so that if we needed to move across country on moto, that we could do it, that she would be able. That's exactly what I got her. So I went on Craigslist, found a local guy with a 2018 Honda CRF 250L, the exact same bike that you got, Battle Chemist. Right there, mine's a 2000, or hers is a 2018. Jack and I, after the live stream, we're actually heading up. We're going to go pick it up today and go. So I'll show you guys. But that's what we got. It had 700 miles on it, a 2018. I'll show you. But that's it. I think that's going to be the recommended bike. Like if I were going to recommend a bike to, and even if you've ridden bigger bikes or you've got a lot of experience riding motorcycles, you know, bigger's not always better with that sort of thing. That little 250 is a wonderful little motorcycle. No, it's not a powerhouse. What it basically is, it's a perfect combination. It's a dirt bike chassis with good, decent suspension. That gives you a good athletic upright riding position that's very comfortable with a small street bike engine in it. A 250cc street bike engine in it. So it's a really nice compromise where it's going to be able to roll 65, 70, even up to 80 in a pinch. Not ideal, but it'll be able to do that and go pretty decent on some single track. So Battle Chemist, he got one as well, and he writes about his. I really like the new Honda CRF L. I picked one up on Saturday. Oh, you got a brand new one. And some issues, but nothing wouldn't prevent riding, and going to be quite expensive to get my Washington permit endorsement as well as the gear. Yeah, and that's something the guy needs to consider. Is it's not just the cost of the bike. You're going to need some good boots, a helmet. There's always some things that need done to the bike. You might even want to put some bags on it, some Moscow Motos or some giant loop bags and that sort of thing. But yeah, shout out to you. Send me a picture. I'd be excited to see that. I'll share mine next day or two when we pick it up. Okay, let us proceed. Thank you, brother. Here we go. Oh, Ben Holt. Shout out to you, Ben. Ben writes, hello, Cody. Ohio man here. Please comment on the dichotomy of being a leader in the workplace versus focusing efforts at home. Career, firefighter, captain. Oh, that's a very good question, Ben. I think what Ben's asking is how do you balance that? and your obligation. What's a man's obligation in life? What is a man's obligation in life? Is it to his career? Let's say, for example, I guess maybe it depends. We always try to go to the good book for advice in these sort of things. This kind of came up with Paul in the New Testament. Now, Paul, as we know, before he started preaching and spreading the gospel and writing the majority of the New Testament, he was an enemy of Christ. He was basically the chief inquisitor for the high priest, and was running around with papers that gave him powers and authority to round up, to imprison, and to kill anyone that was a follower of Jesus Christ. And God, through the Damascus Road experience, changed him, and he ultimately became one of the greatest members of the early church. He made a comment that it is better for a man not to marry than to marry. And people have struggled with this and tried to understand what he was talking about. But what he's talking about is if God has, I don't know if we could use predestined, I don't believe in predestination, but if God has called a man out of the earth, out of the world, to become a minister for him in some way, whether it be a preacher or an evangelist or whatever, the body of Christ is vast and has many workers. What that looks like is different between one and the other. I think Paul was making that comparison to himself. Had he been hindered by a family, he would not have been nearly as effective. You can't serve two masters, and his attention would have been divided between his family and the ministry. And we see a perfect example of that with Peter. Peter had a family and was married, and he had problems trying to manage both, trying to be a good father and husband, but yet called out of the world and spent 3.5 years with Jesus Christ. He had an obligation to go out and to spread that gospel, right? So he found himself probably in a pretty difficult position, and his family and wife was somewhat resentful. There's always, there's kind of always been a meme of the pastor's kids. Why do the pastor's kids go wrong? Why do they always go off the rails, and how come they're so rebellious when they're supposedly raised in the perfect environment? Well, it's oftentimes, in my opinion, that it's because the pastor, rather than spending time raising and disciplining his children, he's focused on his flock, focused on the running of the church, and neglects his children. And they rebel because they're trying to get attention. It's not hard to figure these things out. So ultimately, it just depends. So if you're a single man, that's not been determined for you, where your allegiance should be. If you're a single man, then yes, your allegiance should be whatever it is you find yourself doing. The good book tells us whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. That means whatever. So do the best job that you can. Give all that you have. Honor God, glorify God in everything your hand finds to do. This is what the good book is instructing us. But if we have a family and children, then our allegiance needs to be, to the family, more so than that to the raising of our children, than that of our work. Because it's our family that will be there with us when we're on our deathbed, holding our hand, and the satisfaction that will come from a job well done, raising your own children and living a godly life, will pay its fruit then. That corporation or organization or the volunteer fire department that you were at, that's not going to be there for you. So act accordingly when it comes to that. But I think if a man, like Paul said, it would be better that a man doesn't marry. I think what he was getting at is if you have an important work to do, then it would be better for you not to marry so that you're not hindered by it. But if you don't want to do that, or just have a different calling in life, your calling is to have a family, then that needs to be your priority. That's how I would advise you. Thank you, Ohio man. Thank you, Mr. Ben. Sure appreciate that. All right, let us proceed, gentlemen. We're only gonna go for 1 hour today. I wished I could have something that followed me around. I can't serve two masters either here. Well, I may have got that trailer a little too far. I fixed the, I told you guys that my buddy borrowed my excavator and brought it back all beat up. And it was pouring hydraulic fluid. It was pouring hydraulic fluid out of the quick attach coupler. So I tore it all apart this morning and fixed it. And I did a video on that. I've got it, the video's in the can. I'll make it this evening. Or maybe this afternoon, I'll get it up for you guys. Probably give it down a little bit more. There we go. Oh goodness, we got a super chat. Oh, that's the wrong button. Shout out to you. The Battle Chemist writes, the CRF I bought is a 2015 with 19K. That's good. LED taillights, turn signals, starts right up, cold, but she's seen some drops on the trail. No problem. So is mine. Got a few scratches. She's no garage queen. I will send some pics. Well, I hope you feel, makes me feel good that I chose the same bike as the Battle Chemist. So we both have the exact same bike. Mine is, or the one that I got from Mrs. W is going to be that she's going to ride it on our evening rides. I wanted something that I'm not going to take her on anything that's beyond just gravel. You know, she didn't grow up on bikes. It's not that. That's a different day. When I go out with a war band or go out with Jack and I would go out, you know, we go tear it up, but it'd be more the evening rides. Plus I put this sweet little, she rides on my lap on my 300 anyway, so we're not exactly, you know, we're not really going over 25, 30 miles an hour just up in the through the old growth in the forest. So this would be a perfect bike for that. Mine, the one we got has 700 miles, 2018. It has a $1,000 Öhlins rear shock, which it surprises me. A lowering kit that's not on it, but I can put it on it. I can lower it 2 inches for Mrs. W if I need to, with a link. It's all black, brand new black plastics. Everything's all blacked out with the gold forks, but the I do have all the original red plastic and the red seat, as well as a desert tank. A whole bunch of parts and stuff. It was really, really nice guy. Actually, this is a fun story. So I took Mrs. W out. Yes, I wasn't even planning to do this. It was just one of those things that came up. I took Mrs. W out to brunch yesterday for Mother's Day, and we were sitting on the outside and having a nice meal, and we got to talking about how much we enjoyed our evening rides, and she said something like, "Oh, I wish I could go with you guys. Like, you know, we used to do that." And I said, "Well, why can't you?" It's like, "Well, I don't have a motorcycle and I haven't ridden for a long time." I said, "Well, how about this? Let's get you a nice, easy, friendly bike. We can find something used on Craigslist or Marketplace. Go take your endorsement. Don't learn from me, but I'll sign you up for some basic women's class. And then I'll teach you around here. You can just come with our rides." And she's like, "I would love that." So we jumped online, and about 20 minutes away was this 2018, and it was just a beautiful little bike, just mint condition, and just everything looked good. I texted the guy and said, "Hey, we're not too far away. Would you mind if I come up and look at it?" And he texted me right back, "Yep, no problem." So her and I went up there and looked at it, and I didn't have that much cash on me, so I gave him $500 and told him we'd come back and pick it up today, Jack and I. Well, he was a really nice guy, and he had a son about Jack's age, and just like Jack and I, the seller and his son, they ride together. They do moto, and then they also have street bikes. So he had 6 bikes in his barn there, and so I asked if I could see his bikes. So he had 4, excuse me. He had a 350 like Jack's KTM. His was a Husky, a CRF R. And then he had 2 Ducati Scramblers. One of them was a desert sled, and the other one just the regular Scrambler. And I I love those bikes. I've never ridden one, but I think they're cool. And I was asking him about them, and him and I just got along well. You know, we both had the motorcycles in common. We were chatting. Well, he texted me last night, just sent me a copy of the title and such, and asked me when I was going to come pick up the bike. And he said, hey, if you and your son would like to come up and ride those Ducatis, take them out for a spin, you're welcome to. He goes, I'm just warning you, if you ride them, you're going to want one. And I said, are you serious? Because if you are, I will take you up on that. He said, absolutely. He says, as long as if you break, you buy. And I said, okay, that's the way I operate, so that's perfect. So Jack and I are going to go up there. We'll take our helmets, and we're going to ride those 2 Ducati Scramblers, and that'd be kind of cool. So I'll shoot you a little short video on that. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you, Battle Chemist. Yeah, shout out to you. That sounds like a good bike. Sounds like a really good bike. All right, let us proceed. Yeah, I know the toupee is on point today. I was noticing that myself. It's quite nice. You know, when you're people give me a hard time about wearing a toupee, and they try to shame me like I should be embarrassed about it. I'm not embarrassed about wearing a toupee at all. Like, I care what they think about my hairpiece. Yes, I'm a slave to my vanity, but who's not? Yeah, I know well, you know, the reason why, Steve, is that I spend a lot of money on my toupees. I don't buy off the shelf. You see, my toupees are made exclusively from the hair of Polynesian virgins who are on a strict diet of coconut oil. So that's why it has that beautiful black luster that it does. And it's, you know, there's no other substitute. The hair of a Polynesian virgin on a coconut oil diet is the finest toupee hair that you can buy. Very expensive. You know, it's actually, I have mine made by the same maker that made toupees for Eric Estrada and Tom Selleck. I used to get a lot of people used to troll me a lot about that, but I got most of the words that they use for trolling me about my toupee, I've got them all blocked, so I don't hear about it too much anymore. Yeah, it's very natural looking. Like I'd wear off the shelf. Get serious, guys. Come on now. Oh, not quite. A little too far away. Okay, so the dirt is going to go Right, this fence line right here is the fence line that we just repaired. And you can see probably the dirt road in there that I graded. So that's a little high, and there's actually a V right there. And the water is just rushing down here, going across the road and not watering all of this here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that dirt and we're gonna dump it, a big pile right over there, and then we're gonna raise all that, fill all that in, that V, it's a little valley, and hold that water back so that it flows evenly across the whole field, picks up the rills, and then comes in the way it's supposed to. Whoops. All right, let us proceed. So we're gonna take a load over there just a minute. Would I ever wear a Trump toupee? We have a super chat from the Duster. Shout out to you. Does Donald wear a toupee, or is that his real hair? I don't know. Would I ever wear a Trump toupee? I've always wore the black toupee. I've never had a blonde one. I'd have to dye the sides and everything. I don't think so. No, I'd have to say a no on that. I like what I have. Yeah, wear whatever you like. I agree. I wear triple denim now. I went out to the coffee shop last week and I had a double denim front Ironheart work pants in 21-ounce denim, and I had a 21-ounce denim trucker jacket. And I had my Levi apron on because I just popped down there. I was working in the shop, and there was a girl there that said, what'd she say? She stopped, she's looking at me, she's like, whoa, that's quite an ensemble you have there. And I said, well, not just anyone could pull off triple denim. I'll tell you, after COVID, I care so little of what other people think compared to what I used to be. I used to be kind of a people pleaser. Not anymore. I speak the truth, clear, concisely, how I feel. I don't beat around the bush anymore. You also lose a lot of friends that way, but were they friends is the real question. Boy, what a beautiful day. It's too far, such nice light. Yeah, the coconut, well, I wouldn't say that it has a coconut aroma. Unfortunately, it kind of takes on the smell of the packaging. Maybe because it takes so long to come over, they can't put it in an airplane, so it's got to come over on a ship. And it kind of takes on the kind of a funky smell of the packaging, which I have to air out for a week before I even wear it. So that's always, it's such a bummer, because when you get something, a brand new one, you're always excited to wear it, and then to have to fumigate it for a week is always a bummer. No, I can't. That's not that. I can't have the toupees shipped air because they're illegal. They're illegal to import. So I have to go through back road channels, and it's got to come over by ship. Yeah, the slow boat, exactly. The slow boat that doesn't, that knows the way around customs. Yes, GK, we're on a mini. Yeah, the BVs, the soil is very nice, a really nice topsoil. I'm not doing a final grading here. I'm just trying to skim right along top of the grass. If you look there, you'll see just little blades of grass coming up there. I don't want to tear it up. I'll come back in with a different piece of equipment to do the final grade. My manservant Jariah put the 6-way grading blade on the Yanmar, and I'm going to use that for the final grading because I can control it and get it exactly the way I want it. I can do it with an excavator, but it's time consuming and the results are never as good. Are you into Lizzo? No. I don't like fat women. You know, I don't ask too many questions from the manufacturer that does the toupee shipping. I just pay. Sometimes it's best not to know. I've got nothing against fat women. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want one. Got some debris in here I don't necessarily want. It's hard to. This is a muck bucket. It's hard to use the thumb with a muck bucket. If you want to be precise, you go get the 30-inch or the 24-inch. This is about a 4-foot bucket. The best afro wig? The last afro wig I bought was on Amazon, but I found it to be very scratchy. So I wouldn't recommend. I think you can go to soulglow.com. That's where I'd start. I think we might have one more set in this hair. Yeah, it's a dump trailer. Yeah, that'd be a bummer to unload a non-dumping trailer, wouldn't it? Well, I've had to do that before. I haven't always had a dump trailer. This is my first one. Goodness, we have a super chat from Mr. Duster16. Shout out to you. My TradCon wife's 8 months pregnant with us, our second child, a boy. I'm not sure what to name him. Something not common, but not too unique. Suggestions? Well, yeah, I had to do. Jack is the best name for a man. Have you ever met a Jack that you didn't like? Good, strong, masculine, Anglo-Saxon name. Just go with Jack, man. You can't go wrong. I always knew my daughter's name. I knew my daughter's name when I was about 19, probably 21. 21. Thank you, brother. I sure appreciate that. And congratulations, man. Not only having a TradCon, make sure if you have a, gentlemen, if you have a real TradCon, that's more rare than hen's teeth. You need to really look after it. Take care of it. Make sure you don't take it for granted. I roll out the red carpet for my TradCon. I take care of her best I can because she's earned it. Remember, gentlemen, it's we. If you're a professional homeowner, it's we that are the prize. Mrs. W and I are, I would say that we're of the belief, this might be some kooky stuff to some people, but we're both of the belief that what you name something or someone in some way determines their personality or characteristics or their traits. I believe that to be true. I believe that to be true. So choose carefully when you're choosing a name. Mr. Overton writes, my text 2 kids are going to be sneakily named after my 2, there you go, after my 2 guns. Excellent. Excellent. Shout out to Mr. Overton. My neighbors love this. They love the honking. First we have it for the snowplow, super chat, and now we have it in the summertime. Now it's a year round. And the horn's exceedingly loud. In the good book, God puts a lot of importance and emphasis on names. We don't have that in our culture. Well, as Americans, we don't really have a culture. But a name doesn't really mean anything, but it had great significance. So much significance that when God did something important, like a major change in someone's life, he would give them a new name. He even renamed Abram and Abraham. And in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, that we're even told that those of us that remain faithful to Jesus Christ and find ourselves in the kingdom, that we will have a one-on-one and we will be given a new name as well. That's different than the name we've been given here on earth, a name that God knows us by. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. I wish I could advise you as to what would be a good name and what would be a bad name, but I don't know. Jack's turned out to be a good kid. So there's some anecdotal evidence for you. We have a super chat from Mr. Duster16. Shout out to you. Duster writes, my top two names are Brody and Eli. Gut feeling. I grew up with a Brody or Eli. I'd have to choose Eli. We'll let the Proho vote for this. So put 1 for Eli and 0 for Brody. 1 for Eli, 0 for Brody. All right, let us proceed. We have a little rock here. Don't want that. Whoops. Went too hard. Eli, yeah, that's an old-fashioned name. I think old-fashioned names are cool. It's a biblical name. I don't care for Brody, actually. Brody that I knew, that was his surname. That wasn't his given name. Actually, I don't know that I've known anyone with Brody for a first name. It might just be a kind of unusual to me. I'm used to seeing it as a last name, so I probably get used to it. Yeah, dump trailer's getting full. I figured we'd test and see how strong the lift motor was. That's why I'm putting a little extra on the back. To balance it out. This is also pretty light, fluffy stuff. It's not like I wouldn't load gravel this high. You know, here's a name I'd like. This is what I would choose. If I had another son, I would name him, I would consider Everett. I like Everett. Everett, yeah. That was my granddad's older brother's name, Everett. I thought that's cool. I think that's cool. Oh, my rig's messing up here. Goodness, come on now. What is going on? Oh, there we go. Got a clamp loose. Eustace. No, we can't do Eustace after The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Eustace, no, that's a no-go there. Don't saddle the poor boy with Eustace. Well, I think we're gonna have to shut it down, gentlemen. I gotta go dump the trailer anyway. Everything seems to be falling apart on me. I'm gonna be out here for the whole week, I'm sure. So I imagine we're gonna do live streams out here. I've got so much to do. With the fire season getting bad, I want to have all of this sorted out and the water flowing in the green fields and all this. A boy named Putin. That's funny. You know, history may show, gentlemen, that those who you are being told are the bad guys might be the good guys. Might just be the good guys. All right, beloved, thank you for hanging out with me. I apologize for the poor production and lack of preparation here. We're busier than a one-arm paper hanger out here, but I'll bring you along. We'll do the live streams at 12:30. We'll just be out here in the field, probably in the excavator or something equivalent to it. But we'll go through the whole irrigation. I know a lot of you have seen it, but it's quite interesting. We irrigate our land with the old system of head gates, where we put gates in and open and close gates and redirect water, and it's 80% perfect, but there's 20% problems around here, and I'm chasing those down and regrading them, and that's going to keep me busy for a month or so. So I'll bring you along for that. It's actually quite interesting. I really enjoy it. But keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families. We sure appreciate your time, appreciate the middlemen, and Overton, shout out to you for all your help. It doesn't go unnoticed. We are very, very grateful, and look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video. I also will have the fixing of the coupler up ASAP. So pray for us. We'll pray for you. We'll see you guys on the next one.